Hello, hello. All right, we got a mic on. So we're going to change gear a little bit. Guys, don't go. Come on. We're going to have an interesting session now. I know it's probably bio break. So we're going to have a pretty interesting session right now. So you just heard from David and Dennis on what EMC and Dell are doing together, in globally, but also more specifically in the Greater China region. So what we're going to do now is actually invite a couple of our customers and partners to tell you and share with you what they are doing within their organizations around digital transformation and really what innovation and software means towards their companies and their enterprises and the customers that they serve. My name is Sean. I work for Pivotal. We're a part of the Dell technology family of companies. We're going to have a session later on to talk a little bit more around the type of things that we actually do with customers that are leveraging our technologies and capabilities. But right now, I'm going to invite our panelists on stage. We'll start with Eric. Eric's the General Manager of Hutchinson Global Communications. Eric. And pick any of them that you can sit wherever you want. Matthew Chan, Head of Digital Marketing for New World. James Guang from Atos. And then Manuel from Manulife. Oh, so you have a mic, and I don't have a mic. That's not fair. All right, no, that's okay. I think I'm going to get an echo if that's the case. Okay, so let me just bring up my questions here. So we'll take the next 30 minutes or so and kind of share with you some of the things that these guys are doing within their organizations, what their teams are doing, and things like that. Maybe what we can start off in the beginning is, so everybody talks about digital transformation. It's such a buzzword that basically everyone from your car company to consulting firm to banks are talking about. What does that really mean to you? Maybe we'll start from the insurance industry, and you can talk a little bit about what digital means for Manulife and the industry in general.
Sure. So, obviously insurance is a business that hasn't fundamentally changed in the last 100 and so years. So for us, digital transformation is really not about slapping a mobile app on the same products, services, and servicing models that have been unchanged, but to really think about how are you going to engage with customers digitally on their terms. So it means fundamentally shifting your touch points, your engagement models, but also how you define your products and services in a way that actually bring customer insights and customer experience to the forefront. And that's a huge challenge for an industry, again, that is so set in its ways. But we have a lot of activity in that space, and certainly none of our competitors for within or without the industry are standing still either. So it's pretty exciting for us.
Good, excellent. Well, Eric?
Yeah, for us, I think we will focus on the retail side at first because this is one of the core sector that really facing to the end consumers. So that part is really interesting because we focus on one point. It's not on the technical side. We're focusing on the customer experience because I think the whole evolutions or the changes is shifting the powers to the individual level. So we have to really change our way to work, our touch points, or the whole mechanisms to adopt in these situations that how to really respond to that change immediately, really in a real-time, instant level. So this is the origins or how to we see the need of digital transformations. The way that we classify it as a digital transformation just because most of the channels or touch point that our customer using is on digital area, so we focus in this area. So one of the core part is really we start from something like social media, try to really connect with them, but not just to set up a page in Facebook or account in WeChat. You see all these channels is a tools or is a mainstream, start the connection with them. And after that, we try to collect some data to understand their preference, their behaviors, and all those things have to really link together. So this is one of the origins of our journey.
Excellent. James?
Yeah, Atos is a technology service company. So I think what's really interesting from our point of view is very much echoing our colleagues' comment about many of our traditional industry clients starting to think about as a technology maturity disrupts some of these traditional industries and business models, how do they then transform? So we look at that, and many of our customers are asking us for advice and looking to us to actually provide some help in terms of navigating through this very interesting, exciting, but challenging period. At the same time, as a company, we face the same challenges. We needed to really look at where Atos will continue to focus, building and maturing our capabilities, in turn, helping ourselves to transform. You know, it could be as simple as looking at how do we do basic business processes and what tools do we use. Is it possible for us to actually shift to much of the public cloud infrastructure that is available? What will make sense for us to do, and how and when, etc. So it's kind of very challenging for us in a sense that we've got to look at it internal as well as helping our clients. So that's what we are busy working on.
Right. It's challenging, but it's fun time as well, right?
Absolutely.
Digital's always got to be fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent. Eric?
Well, as a telecom service provider, we actually take the digital transformation to a pretty strategic level. Well, it actually helps us to redefine our value proposition to our customers and actually revenueize, many of our product and services. I personally actually heads up the product innovation team within Hutchison. So actually we've done a recent survey that actually 30% of our customers see the perceived value of our product and services is actually comes from the digital part of it. And when we look at, as a telco, services and customer centricity is basically our focus. So we've been trying very hard to improve the customer experience, both internally and externally. And we're actually looking for all the areas that we could actually improve and actually better meet the needs of our customers. And when we talk about the, like the Atos colleague, it's actually the transformation is twofold. One is our own transformations, and the other is really we want to help our customers, along the journey as well. In actual fact, that one of the consultants that helped us to do the digital transformations, we have now actually hired her as our head of digital transformation today, reporting to our COO. So that's how serious that we are getting into.
Ah, very good, very good. So I think when in my discussions with our customers, very often when they talk about digital transformation or digital in general, there are really two areas, right? There's the taking existing business processes and applications and data sets and whatnot, and really enable that on the digital side. And I think folks have been doing that for quite some time now. And then there's the notion of really innovating, creating new things. Manuel, I know I've heard from you many times that very often, the way you think is digital only, right? It's digital first and digital only, right? So that really leads into a lot of this notion of innovation and, innovating at startup speeds. And you guys work for very large organizations. You're certainly not startups. So when you hear people talk about innovating at startup speed, what are you thinking about? And any thoughts on that?
Well, clearly, speed and agility comes into mind for organizations like Atos. When we talk about startups, we would like to move as fast and as agile as some of the startup companies. However, we do have a large organization, as a lot of customers are with us, so we need to balance that. So innovation is very exciting. Having said that, I think it is very important in terms of where we place our focus in terms of that innovation and channel that energy and resources. For example, is that in Atos, we look at data analytics very seriously, because our customers, our very traditional customers, especially in manufacturing, are facing a lot of challenges as a result of the boundaries being really removed. And they are trying very hard to figure out how they can get closer to their end customers. And we have to enable them by linking a lot of information together to help them make decisions faster with customer in mind. So those are the kind of things that we then focus on in terms of our innovation. So,
any other thoughts? Maybe Manuel or
yeah, I think from our point of view, I think we're struggling with how to tackle innovation. To be very honest, we have an innovation center, actually a program of centers. So we have 4 of them globally, where we really separate them out from the core of our business and really let them go as startups. Get some ideas, bring them to prototype stage. But then as an organization, we've struggled a little bit on how to tie that back into the core business, precisely because they've run so separate. So we have some efforts bringing them here. Organizationally, I think the way we think about innovation is in a number of different levels, and most of it is about the mindset. My competitor is Matthew. Honestly, because to me, as we're dealing with our customers, the latest great mobile or digital experience that customer had before they engaged with me, that's their benchmark. And that benchmark is always moving. So our processes internally around tool sets, the way we think about infrastructure, the way we develop software, needs to have that in mind. And as a traditional organization that moves and has certain processes and regulatory pressures and so forth, it's very easy for us to find the reasons or the barriers why we're stuck in the old ways. So being able to shift some of that mentality around is really a huge challenge. And having that formula for innovation about having the mechanisms that support it, the tools and architecture to allow those experiments to move forward, and frankly the organizational support to be able to really move the bar, are really the 3 levels that we're working with. So for us, I think we're very serious about it, and we're certainly investing in those internal capabilities, but with a lot of self-awareness about how, as an organization, we need to allow that concept to take root.
Right. So I heard you mention, so you've got a separate team focusing on moving very fast, potentially, I think we were talking about earlier, maybe failing very fast as well, right? Experimentation. And I was talking to a Gartner analyst recently, and she posed a question, right? She was like, so there are a lot of companies doing that, and then they're all struggling of bringing that in. In fact, especially from a people perspective, because the people that you put in those teams, once they get used to this really moving fast and innovating and creating, and then if you tell them to go back in the old way, they're like, no, I'm leaving, right? So do you see, Eric, maybe, do you have similar setup within the organization, and how do you handle that?
Well, you do need to move fast if you want to innovate and actually get the first move advantage in the market. So, but then as an established company, we also have our own strength. I mean, we are very good execution engine. I mean, we have all these infrastructure and service team in place. So what we have done in the past is actually we work with startup company, right? I mean, both overseas and locals, and actually bring their ideas, but turned it into a service that is acceptable to our customers. Well, many startups, there's a lot of things that we can learn from them, but then they don't have the service concept.
Right.
They don't know how to run a mission-critical operations, but we do. I mean, the marriage of this kind of innovative ideas together, with a performance engine that we already have, is actually a perfect match. So that's one way to bring innovation to the market through this kind of collaborations. But on the other hand, well, we keep on doing a lot of incremental innovation within the company, like upgrading our network and also improving our omni-channels, everything. But actually, we put in some dedicated resources in our budget to look for some breakthrough innovations that actually go beyond our comfort zone. I mean, we used to be called, telco, as dumb pipe, right, providers. We no longer are dumb pipe providers. We actually have already developed a whole infrastructure and expertise to provide, comprehensive ICT solutions to our end customers. I mean, we work with partners like EMC in the enterprise cloud market, very successfully. Things like that, which is actually beyond what we originally have. Right. This is the innovations that we want to bring to the company.
Yeah, and the industry always talks about being the disruptor, And very often now, I think a lot of the enterprises that I'm meeting with now, they want to disrupt the disruptor, right? Why is Google and Apple taking my business? I know my industry best. I have domain expertise. I should be disrupting them. And I think that's a very refreshing mindset that I'm hearing these days, especially the last probably 6 months or so in Asia as well. But there's a fundamental mind shift as well, right? And I think it was David earlier in his keynote. He talks about this notion of companies really needing to pivoting into a more of a software company, right? Because when you talk about digital, other than the sensors that we're all going to be, I guess, putting into our bodies now, right, David? But other than that, I mean, if you think about it, most of the interaction is through software. And software is fundamentally very different. The way we use Facebook and the way we use, I think we were talking about Google suites of products and things like that, it's really fundamentally changed how we interact with companies. How are you guys, looking? I mean, you're all in the industry. You're not traditional software companies. Do you see yourself as going into that direction? And if so, any preparation that maybe we'll start with Matthew?
Yeah, I will see it this way. I really don't care whether this is a tech company, software companies, or whatever, because as David mentions in today's keynote, how to really make use of technologies to embrace the customer experience, or even to redefine the customer experience is the key. So whatever can help in these directions, it should be the things that we have to really equip and make use of. So for us, we will say, no matter this is an internet company, startup, or software company, we do see one thing is very important. They have capability to design and create their own things in order to manage the whole customer experience and to influence them. So when we put this model in our industry, do we have development team to manage all these things? Do we have, let's say, in a relatively marketing size, do we have content development team to create some content that can trigger the engagement? And after that, they have traffic, they have lots of interaction, and come to the infrastructure's problem. So do we have really a good infrastructure to support or to cater all these needs? So to us, we do see a vertical way to manage the whole customer experience is the key. And what we didn't have before is all these development capabilities, the capability to integrate all these things together, the capability to manipulate all these so-called new generated data source that always being told that will generate some insight, and all this insight will help you to really uplift your business. So this is a buzzword right now, but how to really make use of the whole organizations or even a small team, no matter a separate innovative team or a traditional team, they have to really understand all these things. They have to really follow all these directions and make use of all these things. So the new set of tools, new set of trainings or cultural changes series to let them feel what is happening or let them feel the powers of these new tools. And after that, we will arrange some meet-up or some sharing between the traditional guy and those guys from startup, and let them feel, okay, how those youngsters or how those startups using this type of new tools to help their business. So this is how do we see a so-called a software type of company.
Okay, very, very good. So you talk a lot about a few things, right? You talk about the ability to create digital content, which is very different than your traditional marketing content. We talk about software. Obviously, there's the development and engineering aspect of it, and then leveraging cloud and big data. Those are all very unique skill set that traditionally it's not easy to find. So we're in Hong Kong. So in the Hong Kong market, how do you see that kind of workforce being transformed as well in the folks that you're recruiting or within your own team in terms of enablement? And I'm going to say this one thing. I bring that point up specifically because I know we have people from Invest Hong Kong here, right, Wendy? So I want to kind of talk a little bit about how the government and maybe working with the enterprises to enable this new mindset and trying to bring these resources to bear. Any one of you want to kind of comment on that?
I want to go first. Because I actually sit on this qualification framework committee, and we are actually writing a so-called practice book for the DMT sector, digital media technology. And I think it's so obvious that we are lack of digital native professionals in the market. And I think it's actually a game of hunting all these digital professionals. And it's important that we do actually import this kind of competence to a company. And not just at the working level, I would say. I would challenge that we also need this kind of digital savvy people, even in our management and leadership, so that they could have the visions to bring the company to the next level.
Right. Any other comments?
Well, I've got perhaps a different perspective. I think it's not simplistically we all become software companies. All of a sudden, university turning out more software engineers. Actually, to me, what that means is we got to look at what makes a very successful software company. Those software that we enjoy using every day gives us a very simple, rewarding experience. So what we find, especially in ATOS as well as my previous work in the education industry, is we actually need a whole spectrum of skill sets, from analytics skill improvement to technology skills like programming, but more and more so user experience and being really able to understand what that means and translate that into the work that we do to turn ones and zeros into wonderful experiences and be able to manage very complex interactions, not just internally with your people, but more and more so directly to the consumers, like Emmanuel was talking about. These are the skill sets that I think are critical. So goes back to what you talked about, is you separate these teams out, you empower them to move very fast. How can you bring that back in? So what we are doing is really transforming the mindset of the whole organization, making sure that people recognize that this is what's required, not only for ourselves, but for our customers, putting the money behind it so that we can actually investing in the right people, in the right areas, so that, you know, it is really not helpful if we just talk about it. So these are the kind of things that I see us doing, and our customers are doing it as well. So going back to your point about, you know, skill sets, and we want that ecosystem, including the education institutions, government, and other contributing players in this ecosystem to also recognize that and make that very easy and productive for everybody. So I think that's what's required to really have a successful transformation in that space.
Yeah. I think it's also this notion that you don't learn by just learning, you learn by doing. Right, so very often when we pivotal on the pivotal side, when we work with our customers, we literally ask them to pair with us. Right, let's do it together. If we do it, you're going to see the end result, but you may not see the experience, the journey. So when we pair with our customers, we're literally designing the products together, and we're implementing the products together, and then we're going to go fail together, hopefully not too much, and then we're going to continue to enhance the products moving on. And I think that experience, you know, whether we're working with internet companies or the GEs of the world and HSBCs of the world, and of course Manulife Life of the world, I think that experience has really helped us as well. Right, we now know a lot more about the insurance industry and the whole digital mindset of it than we ever before. So I think that's been, you know, learning by doing is probably one of the key aspect here. So maybe a parting thoughts, last question here. So any interesting things that you can potentially share with the audience that you and your team are going on for the next 6 to 9 months? Maybe we'll start with Manuel.
Interesting things. Wow. That's a pretty high one.
Well, everything that you do is interesting. I know that.
It's like, man, I work for insurance. Seriously.
Yeah.
But kind of joking aside, there's a lot of movement in this space. So obviously, we're starting to work with machine learning and artificial intelligence. We're working with a lot of different kinds of user experience design. And what I find most interesting of what we're doing, outside of the tech, which is pretty cool, is the mindset that that's bringing to the organization as we stitch it together. This whole idea that if we're serious about building that experience, everything is our problem. If the user doesn't have the right information at hand to interact with me, it's my problem. If the internet is slow, it's my problem. If they forgot their password, it's my problem. So all of those things are actually my problem because they impact their interaction with me. But the way we've been designing all these things is like, well, it's their problem. They forgot their password. Let's send them a reminder. Well, hold on. Is that really the experience we want to build? And what's the tech that I need behind that to enable that in a way that's delightful instead of frustrating? That's really exciting. Some of our failures have been pretty spectacular in trying to get that done, but we've learned a lot from it. So I think over the next 6 to 9 months, pretty excited about where we're going in that space.
Interesting. All right. Matthew?
Yeah, I think really what he just mentioned is true because I won't say customer is the king, but they really being well treated from everywhere that they really interact with different channels. So what they expect is what we have to really achieve. So really to ensure the whole organizations, especially those who really facing to the customer side, is have the capability to adopt all these change. Several key initiatives we are really started and will roll out in coming months. One of the things really for internal, I won't say it's a training, but it's more on a cultural change. We will provide a series of workshops, meet-up, gatherings, or really real training on the skill set to transform so-called different representatives from different BU. We give them enable digital talent to help them to transform themselves as a product manager. So what means of product manager is they have to really responsible to a specific product. No matter this is a email or no matter this is a app or even just a simple workflow, they have to understand why they have to create something new to satisfy their customers, from the initiative to the operations to the outcome. So same as what he just mentioned, is whatever customer feel a problem, they have to tackle. So this is something we will start internally to really help to make the change for the organization. At the same time, we want to term ourselves as a platform because we know as one organization, especially a big corp, they will move slow and very slow. They will have lots of boundary, internal boundary. They thought they can't do lots of new things. So we will have lots of initiative to reach out or to link up different tech company and startup in our projects. And even for my team, every project that we roll out, we have a rules. I request my team have to bring in some new startup in the pitch. So this is really important because usually they won't really able to put on the list because of the procurement, the general procurement requirement. Usually this is a problem.
Did you have to mention procurement? Come on.
So this is something we will further enhance in coming months. Yeah.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so I was just listening and thinking what I should share. Atos has such a wide spectrum of services that we provide, from keeping the nuclear power stations running and safe across the border in China, to preparing for the next Olympics,
problem,
and serving the banking customers and large manufacturers such as BMW and etc. So two things that I think might be relevant to the audience here. One is that we partnered with Siemens, and we have made very significant investment in the manufacturing data analytics space. So watch that space, and it will be firstly launched in China, being the factory of the world in automotive. So that's going to be something that's very interesting and exciting coming up in beginning of next year. And we're also working hard in the background to actually redefine what cloud services mean. This cloud-based service orchestration is an area that I think we can do better, because, to be honest, I'm a consumer of cloud services as well as a producer and service provider. I think we have seen a maturity change, and a lot of technology are now cloud-based, but services are lagging behind. And that's an area that Atos is working on, and with partners like EMC, and I'm hopeful that we will deliver something in the service orchestration area, which will potentially be helpful to everybody here.
You and I got to talk some more. We'll figure that out together. Last but not least, Eric.
Okay. So as head of product and services, I actually get the privilege to play around a lot of new things. But just to select a couple of things that are relevant to the audience today, I would say from the service company's point of view, we are looking at a lot of cognitive science and big data analytics, predictive behavior predictions, so that we can actually serve our customer better, right? Sentiment sensing, that kind of things. So that also we actually could cross-sell some of our products to them. That's one thing. And the other thing is we've been actually challenged by a lot of people that we're actually sitting on a lot of treasures, which is actually our customer data, right? So how we actually create a value from that, precious database, and actually share that benefit to our customers. That's another area that we are looking at.
Excellent. Very good. So I want to thank all of you for your valuable insights. I think the audience will probably agree with me that a lot of the initiative that you're undergoing within your organizations are very innovative, very creative, and hopefully, all together, all of us can learn something from the discussion that we have today. So thank you very much.